cuisine has to offer. Our upbeat neighborhood gathering place brings together bright personalities, bold recipes, clean ingredients, and craft spirits that play with the unique flavors of the Midwest. The menu at 30 Bales is inspired by seasonal ingredients grown close to home. Find us across the street from the Hopkins Center for the Arts at 1106 Main Street with plenty of free parking. Go to 30bales.com to learn more.
If you've made the decision to level your home and build new or to renovate, hire Better Futures Minnesota to take it apart by hand. Think before you scrap. Think of the energy and greenhouse gases saved by diverting what can be reused and recycled from the landfill. Better Futures Minnesota can do it for you. Hennepin County residents and public entities, there are funds available to make the environmentally right thing to do comparable to demolition. Check out betterfuturesminnesota.com. That's betterfuturesminnesota.com.
It's an absolute must for any true foodie. Vinaigrette at 50th and Xerxes in South Minneapolis offers premium oils and vinegars for the most discriminating of tastes. This is Sarah Piepenberg, owner of Vinaigrette. We bottle on-site, there's no guesswork, and you get to taste test each and every oil and vinegar we offer. Our direct relationship with the growers ensures an uncompromised level of satisfaction. When you need to know you're cooking with the finest ingredients, first contact the independently owned Vinaigrette, 50th and Xerxes in South Minneapolis. Online at vinaigrettemn.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 86. Tonight, cloudy with a low around 67. And Wednesday, thunderstorms with a high around 82.
If you've been waiting to replace those appliances, don't miss Warner Stellian's lowest prices of the season. Score instant savings, then up to 10% off, and a bonus for each additional appliance you buy. Put us to the test at warnerstellian.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded. AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's 3:05, and it's time for the Matt McNeil Show on Tuesday, June 27th, in the Space and Time Continuum. I'm Todd Mikkelson, sitting in for Matt, who's on vacation. He'll be back on July 5th. And we don't know where he is again, right, Patrick? It's always a secret, top secret.
That'd be on the ISS.
Oh, okay. I don't know what that is.
International Space Station.
Oh. Acronyms. Everyone assumes everyone knows all the acronyms. There are so many, I can't keep track of them. So we're going to have an interview. Brett did an interview with Patrick Coulican from Minnesota Reformer, one of the best journalistic, I think, sources, and it's a Minneapolis, Minnesota source. Really good people writing really good stuff and covering a lot. So we'll hear from Patrick Coulican and Brett at 3:30-ish. And at 4 o'clock, we're going to have Representative Jamie Long calling in, and I'll be interviewing him. So quite a schedule for today. Now, you probably heard everyone talking about this recording of Trump, and I am going to play it for you in case you haven't heard it. I've heard it twice, and the second time was just as astonishing as the first time. It's pretty unbelievable. Now, we've seen transcripts of it before, last week, or maybe even 2 weeks ago. A transcript of at least part of it came out, and it was pretty unbelievable. It's like, okay, here he's contradicting himself and any of the defenses that he's put up, which are many. Contradictory defenses. You probably don't have a good, solid defense if you've got 5 of them and you just kind of vacillate between them all the time and switch your story weekly or more often. So it was pretty astonishing already. So when I heard that, it was released, which was just last evening or yesterday afternoon, CNN got a hold of it. And people are speculating as to how they got a hold of it. I don't think we know yet how they got a hold of it, who leaked it. Somebody from the inside. I mean, this was evidence that was handed over to the Trump camp. So A lot of people think somebody from Trump, possibly Trump himself, would have leaked it. I don't know why Trump himself would have leaked it, because it's devastating to him. But then again, he might not realize that or even think so. He's either losing his mind or he's so desperate that he's acting like he's losing his mind. So we don't know what he's thinking. But what I was saying is, when I heard the tape came out, I wasn't in a hurry to hear it. I thought, well, we kind of already know what's going on with that tape. So is it that big of a deal? And so this morning, I thought I would listen to it. And yes, it is that big of a deal. It's unbelievable. And we'll talk about it on the other side, but I'm going to play that for you right now.
Bad, sick people.
That was your coup, against you.
Well, it started right at the
Like
beginning.
when Millie's talking about, you were going to try to do a coup. No, they were trying to do that before you even were sworn in. That's right. Trying to overthrow your election.
Well, with Millie, let me see that. I'll show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack Iran. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look. This was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, but they presented me this. This was him. This was the Defense Department and him. Wow. We looked at him. This was him. This wasn't done by me. This was him. All sorts of stuff. Pages long. Look. Wait a minute. Let's see here.
Yeah.
I just found, isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case,
Mm-hmm.
Except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. But look at this. You attack, and
Hillary would print that out all the time.
she'd send
Private
it,
email.
she'd send it to
Yeah.
Anthony Weiner,
Yeah.
the pervert. By the way, isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
I was just saying, because we were talking about it, and he said he wanted to attack Iran and what? These are the
You
papers.
did.
This was done by the military, given to me. I think we can probably, right?
I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to
Declassify
figure out
it. See, as president, I could have declassified
Yeah.
it. Now I can't, but this is
now
classified.
we have a problem.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, it's so, we heard I have, and you probably almost didn't believe me, but now you believe me.
No, I believe
It's
you.
incredible, right?
No,
Hey, bring some Cokes in, please.
It ends with, bring some Cokes in, please. Now, you can hear in there that the other people in the recording definitely sound like they are looking at it and reacting to what they're seeing, actually. And, he keeps saying, isn't this incredible? Look. And they're like, yeah. And then he says, can we do this? We would, well, I don't. And one of them goes, oh yeah, I don't know. And he goes, we would have to declassify it. Well, I could have declassified it when I was president, but I can't declassify it anymore. It's classified. It's confidential. Yeah. See that? Can you believe this is the one that just came up? Look, this is Millie. He keeps saying, look, and then they react. He is showing it to them. I mean, we don't have absolute definitive proof because it's not video. But I don't know. What do you think, Patrick? Does it sound like they're reacting to actually seeing the documents?
I think so, because wasn't there somebody who actually went, we have a problem? Like, this is...
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
This isn't a game. This isn't like him just holding up a copy of the New York Times or something. This is actually legit secret stuff that people are reacting to this going, this is not good.
Yeah. And he keeps saying, oh, yeah, it's confidential. See? And then laughing. Then they're laughing because he's probably holding it up and it says top secret or something on it. And they're like, well, we have he said, can we do something with it? I think he wanted them to mention it in this book because they were there interviewing him for some material for Mark Meadows' memoir, I guess, that he sold about 20,000 copies of. Total flop. Nobody wants to read it. And I think he was hinting at, can we do something with this? Because this makes my case where Milley said I wanted to attack Iran, but here it's him wanting to attack Iran. So we should put that in the book, right? And then that's when the woman goes, well, we have a problem. And he goes, well, yeah, it's good. Oh, yeah, we would have to declassify it. I don't know. It's people who do know, Andrew Weissman types and Henry Littman and people who are lawyers and Andrew Weissman worked on the Mueller probe, I believe it was. These are serious people who know a lot about legalese, and they say this is it. He's done. This is absolute definitive proof. The final nail in the coffin, somebody said. And I agree with them. And it kind of looks like Trump's spokesperson also agrees with them. Here's a statement released, and it just says from Trump spokesperson. It doesn't say the name of the person. It's just from Trump spokesperson. And this is the statement. The audio tape provides context proving once again that President Trump did nothing wrong at all. The president is speaking rhetorically and also quite humorously about a very perverted individual, Anthony Weiner, who was deep inside the corrupt Clinton campaign. The media and the Trump haters once again were all too willing to take the bait, falling for another Democrat DOJ hoax, hook, line, and sinker. What are they talking about? It's getting crazier. You know how I hypnotized you last week and had you remember go back in time to 2015 and then 2016 and then January 20th, 2017, the first press conference by Trump's first press secretary. And he said this was the most attended inaugural in the history of the country. And everybody just looked at each other like, what? We saw the photos and video and there was nobody there. And we were all caught off guard because it's like, how can you lie about that? You're being proven that it's a lie because we're seeing, you're expecting us not to believe our eyes. Now they're expecting us not to believe our ears. And this person's not even talking about this recording except for the Anthony Weiner part. They're counting on people seeing this statement and not hearing the tape, obviously, because this statement makes no correlation, really, to the recording. And, of course, Trump's statement, his first statement he came out with after this, the deranged special prosecutor Jack Smith, working in conjunction with the DOJ and FBI, illegally leaked and spun a tape and transcript of me, which is actually an exoneration, rather than what they would have you believe. This continuing witch hunt is another election interference scam. They're cheaters. They're cheaters. They're cheaters, and they're thugs. Thugs, the likes of which have never been seen.
I don't understand why they're trying to bring Anthony Weiner into this because he hasn't been relevant in 7, 8, 9 years. I don't know where that name came from.
Trump seems to do that often, though. He's got these things that stay in his mind that he's just super irked about, and he gets fixated on them, like you just said, after we've all forgotten about it, and he brings it up again. I mean, yeah, Anthony Weiner. He's still focused on the Hillary thing, Hillary's days. That's really long time ago. But the other thing that this recording points out is just how dumb and ignorant he is and how much he does not know about being the president of the United States, and certainly doesn't care about being president of the United States and doesn't care about the United States national security. But the reason that this was and he's showing people a plan to attack Iran, and he's saying that Milley gave it to him. Well, when you're the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, you want to be ready. If something happens where we might need to go into Iran or something, you want to have a plan already. You don't want to just start making your plan when it's too late. So there's probably plans for all kinds of invasions and all kinds of different things, and they're all, waiting in case they need to be used. And probably, knowing Trump, he probably said, I think we should invade Iran. So then Milley says, well, here's a plan to invade Iran. I say we shouldn't do it, but is that what happened? Or did Trump say he wanted a plan and they either already had one or made one up and showed it to him? And this goes back, it reminds me also about the stories we started to hear almost immediately when he became president about staffers in the White House thinking, I got to get that document off his desk before he sees it, because he shouldn't see that. I think they were not letting him in on a whole bunch of stuff. And so he didn't realize that there are plans for all this kind of stuff. And when you're the president and you ask the chairman of the Joint Chiefs for a plan to invade Iran, he's going to give it to you because you're the president of the United States. But he doesn't seem to realize that. He's telling it as though Milley was trying to get the United States to attack Iran, which I just feel I feel pretty sure that that's not the case. It just shows that Trump never knew what was going on in the Oval Office. It's more proof of that. And he's so aloof about it. And he's laughing about, yeah, it's confident. And they laugh. He laughs along with them. It's also creepy because they're probably younger women. And he's like kind of trying to show off. Like, I think he thinks he's going to get somewhere sexually with them, knowing him. He's showing off like, yeah, I was, when I was president, Well, it kind of sounds like you weren't president. You were in the Oval Office taking up space, but it doesn't sound like you ever were doing the job of the president of the United States, you dolt. It's so maddening. We've got somebody on the line, but we need to take a short break. So we'll take a break and come back and hear from Dynamo Dave. When we come back on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. You're listening to the Matt McNeil Show. We'll be right back.
Hi, Matt McNeil for Rudy Luther Toyota. You've heard me talk about the Rudy Luther Toyota We Buy program. Now hear from someone who's actually done it, me. Our kids' car, the 2006 Toyota Sienna, served us well for 17 years, but it was finally time to say goodbye. The We Buy program is really simple. I gave them some basic information. We set up an appointment, and after a quick verification, they gave me an estimate and a check, and they made me a generous offer. It was that fast. See for yourself. Try the Rudy Luther Toyota We Buy program at rudyluthertoyota.com.
Hey, it's Tom. Fossil fuels continue to have negative impacts on our environment. Luckily, there are more ways now than ever to use renewable energy in your home or business. All Energy Solar offers smart energy solutions like custom solar paneling, electric vehicle chargers, and energy storage. Solar panel systems can last for decades, meaning you can help the environment and cut back on electric bills for years to come. There are incentives and rebates available to most people who install solar energy, too. Last year, the federal solar tax credit increased to a 30% tax credit. This incentive can be used in combination with other incentives from your utility, county, or city. But don't delay or miss out, as many of these incentives are limited to only a certain number of people. So have a professional from All Energy Solar help you discover how solar can power up your property while saving on your energy costs. Call 800-620-3370 or visit allenergysolar.com.
Did you know there are easy ways to support your child's brain development during their critical early years from age 0 to 3? Little Moments Count is a website which provides tools to help parents engage in simple, everyday activities like talking, playing, reading, and singing with their children. Visit littlemomentscount.org for resources and support in giving your child a strong foundation for a lifetime of learning. That's littlemomentscount.org. littlemomentscount.org.
AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. You're listening to the Matt McNeil Show. And I'm not Matt McNeil. I'm Todd Mikkelson sitting in for Matt, who's on vacation. And we just did get word that there was a little bit of a problem with scheduling for Representative Jamie Long. This is why I always say if things go as planned. So their camp thought that it was tomorrow, and our camp thought that it was today. So he is going to call in tomorrow at 4:05. Instead of today. So, but, we're still going to have him on the air. It's just not going to happen today, like I said at the top of the hour. Anyway, let's go to a caller, Dynamo Dave. Hey, Dave.
Hey, multi-talented Todd. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well. You're once again giving Matt a run for his money for the sharpest talk show host in Minnesota. Hey, by the way, there's 4 points. One, I think Trump is, brings up Anthony Weiner because he's jealous because remember Anthony Weiner was doing that sexting and he was actually attracting some young women now.
Yeah.
I won't prove that myself, but Trump, the best he could do is go behind, into a locker room of the beauty pageant gals on,
yeah,
in whatever he was doing.
I know.
But the other thing I want to say, doesn't, Jared Kushner, didn't he receive some giant payment from Saudi Arabia? Part of the Trump administration, advisor to Trump during COVID and all the rest. And Trump, I don't know if you heard about Joe Scarborough saying, the quote, what's her name? He's all about the Benjamins. It all has to do with money, and that's why, even though he's putting the money in the weirdest spots in Mar-a-Lago, he had what's his name, Manafort or whatever, get over 1,000 documents or 10,000 documents on his last day, and what is he going to do? And how do we know that he didn't already do that? That was the payment from, Jared Kushner, funnel, something like that.
I think some people are speculating that is what happened. A couple weeks ago talked about when it was in early 2021, where they said over the last few years they've lost more intelligence agents than they really ever have before. And to me, it seems obvious that Trump was probably selling, some of these documents to and probably Saudi Arabia. And then, Jared Kushner gets $2 billion. Donald Trump gets to build a new building over there and all this stuff. Yeah, it's totally. And then they talk about the two-tiered justice system because they think Hunter got let off too easy. Well, no, the two-tiered justice system is you going after Hunter and not going after, either Ivanka or Jared Kushner or Don Jr. has, Eric, they've committed crimes. And so, it is a two-tiered justice system, but it, again, like everything they say, it's opposite. It's in the opposite direction of how they're describing it. So,
and two things. Remember, Trump was complaining about the toilets in the White House, and they were catching him, flushing documents, whatever they gave him for, briefing, paper briefing, and he always wanted pictures, and he would always said he would always tear things up. Oh, that's the way he conducted business. People would present on paper, and then he'd look at it or whatever, and then he'd tear it up, and then apparently he was throwing it down the toilet.
Yeah.
And then the plumbing was backing up. But doesn't this, if the Jared thing, if it turned out that that $2 billion had to do with selling state secrets to Saudi Arabia or other countries, wouldn't that rise to the level of treason? And isn't treason, punishable? It can be punishable by death.
Yep. Yes, exactly. Usually it has to do with treason during wartime, the punishable by death. So this would be kind of probably more in the espionage category. But technically, you could call it treason. It's just that I think the word, it gets changed to the word treason when we're actually at war with somebody and you're helping the enemy. But still, go to jail for a long time is a justifiable punishment as well. And who knows what will come out in the future. I still think I had the idea years ago that someday there's going to be a movie about the Trump era. And the first shot of the movie is going to be 3 6s. And it'll pull back and you'll see that it's the address on the front of a building. And it'll keep pulling out and it'll be a building in New York on 5th Street or 5th Avenue. That's Jared Kushner's building that the Saudis helped him buy. It all started there before Trump was even president. That's how I think that movie's going to start. And the movie's not going to get made for another 5 or 10 years, but that's how it's going to start, and Jared Kushner will be a huge part of it.
Right. And wasn't his father, I forget the details, something about his father.
His father was in prison.
Doing something having to do with building and, corrupt business practices.
Yep. Fraud and all kinds of stuff. The same stuff that Jared's doing. And Chris Christie's the one who put Jared's father in jail. And that's why he got fired from being the transition coordinator. So, yeah, it's a very complicated tale, and I can't wait to see the movie when it comes out. But
remember under George W. Bush and Cheney, they said that we were in an endless war on terrorism. And if you remember, how many of the hijackers were actually of Saudi Arabian descent of the 9/11 hijackers. So when have they declared the end of the war on terror? And so therefore, if we're still engaged with the war of terror.
Yeah. No, a lot of it goes, you can take things going back to, probably back to the 1920s as far as all these scandal-y types of things. Listen, Dave, I got to take another break. And when we come back, we're going to play the interview that Brett did with Patrick Coolican from the Minnesota Reformer. You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. Snap Construction is arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, and insulation contractor in the metro. Ryan is so excited about working with AM 950 and our listeners that he wants to help us grow.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. I was friends with Chad long before I started marketing with him. I was a bit skeptical of radio advertising before Chad convinced us to run ads. The advertising's been so successful, we want to help the station grow. We've absolutely loved working with the listeners of AM 950, and we all know how extremely important this radio station is to the community. To help AM 950 grow, Snap Construction will be putting up proceeds to assist the station in marketing on social media. Snap Construction encourages you to follow, engage, share, and interact on the AM 950 social media platforms. Together, we can all work to ensure AM 950 continues to thrive and grow in our communities. We stand by our work with a lifetime craftsmanship guarantee. For a free estimate or more information on our financing, call 612-333-SNAP or check us out online.
Now is the perfect time to prepare for summer reading, and Next Chapter Booksellers can help. Not sure what to get? The friendly staff at Next Chapter Booksellers are great at making recommendations to find books that fit your taste. Next Chapter Booksellers also hosts many book readings and meet and greets with authors, and they sell a wide variety of puzzles and games too. So stop by the store off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul or place an order online at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
Hi, I'm Scott Shamblot from Shamblot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. We know dental anxiety and dental phobia are real. We'll take the time to get to know you and give you what you need to be comfortable at all times. We offer free nitrous oxide laughing gas and have high-tech options to help you feel calm and relaxed during your appointments. We'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been going to Shamblot Family Dentistry for years. They get me in last minute when I'm in pain and make regular checkups easy and comfortable.
Shamblat Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblatfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
Seward Co-op is now offering convenient self-serve and prepackaged hot options and salad bars at both the Franklin and Friendship stores. Breakfast items available daily until 11 a.m. and brunch served all day every Sunday. Their weekly lunch and dinner menus highlight cuisines from around the world. They offer vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free options daily. 95% of the ingredients used are organic from small-scale, local community food producers whenever possible. More at seward.coop.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 86, tonight cloudy with a low around 67, and Wednesday thunderstorms with a high around 82. Eat Local Minnesota is a great way to find locally owned Minnesota restaurants and food purveyors. They feature high-quality food and unique eating experiences for your next meal. Some of those dining options include Crooner Supper Club, the Great Wall Restaurant, and Nightingale. Find a full list of all those restaurants at eatlocalminnesota.com.
AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. Todd Mikkelson in for the Matt McNeil Show. Another thing that just came out about the Trump years is that Stephen Miller, not the guitar player, the vampire-looking guy that worked for Trump, he was the immigration advisor or something like that. It just came out that he wanted to use a Predator drone to shoot a boat that had immigrants coming to the United States, unarmed immigrants. He actually asked, I don't know, there was some military commander or something, and somebody higher up, and he said, can't we just shoot it out of the water? And the guy said, no, Stephen, that would be against international law. So it's just, well, I mean, I think we're going to find out more and more about absolutely how much of a mess the White House was for 4 solid years.
In your movie, who would play Stephen Miller? Now, that's a question.
Yeah.
Because he's not a easy guy to replicate, I would think, with any other actors in Hollywood. That
We'll have to put some, maybe we should try and cast the movie.
Yeah.
And that would be kind of a fun project.
Well, would Alec Baldwin have to be Trump from the old Saturday Night Live skits? Or do you think we could do...
I don't know. The new guy is kind of better than Alec.
You think the new
Baldwin
guy is?
Was. Yeah. He's got the voice down like perfectly.
I think just to emphasize the stranger than fiction, I think we should give the right of first refusal for some of these people to play themselves.
Yeah. Well,
they could be desperate for cash at that point, where they could make a little money on the movie.
Well, I mean, a lot of them are, by the time the movie's made, are going to be in prison, I think. So
that's a good point. Donald Trump has been in plenty of movies. I guess he has acting experience. Maybe he would play himself in this thing.
Yeah, he pointed to where the bathroom was in a movie one time. And they cut him out of that movie. They cut that scene out.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, I remember him getting all mad about it. Yeah, it was when he was president, and they released a DVD of it or something, and they showed it. Maybe it's a new streaming version, and they cut Donald Trump out of the movie. It was that Christmas movie.
Is it the Home Alone 2? Yeah, where I think Macaulay Culkin is asking where the bathroom is. Yeah. And that's his big scene of fame for Donald Trump.
Yeah, and they cut Donald Trump out, and then he's, it's all mad about that. So anyway, we've got Brett in the studio here, as you can hear. And so Brett, tell us what happened between you and Patrick Coolican.
Yeah, as part of our usual Tuesday conversations with Patrick Coolican, had a chance to visit with him today, and we're specifically talking about a column he wrote that has to do with some of the, for lack of a better way of putting it, Easter eggs that were passed by the state legislature that are going to have a positive impact on the lives of Minnesotans.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff in there, including one that I'm happy about, that we won't have commissioners being held up anymore like the Republicans used to do. Apparently that won't be possible, or at least will be a lot more difficult. So we'll be talking about that and a lot more coming up in just a few seconds.
Yeah, I know the Minnesota Reformer does a really great job of reporting on things like this. They go into depth and detail, kind of like it's never been seen, like never before. And they wrote something about the police investigation, the DOJ Minneapolis police investigation, and it was incredibly detailed. So I'm assuming this interview is going to go into more detail than say like what we've done here so far about the Minnesota
Yeah.
legislative
they do great,
session.
Yeah, they do great work over there, including Dina, who's done some great
Yeah,
reporting.
Dina's
on
the one who wrote that other article. So anyway, well, say what you want to say.
Yeah,
and
let's get right into it. Patrick
Okay.
Kulikan, talking about some of the Easter eggs passed at the legislative session.
All right.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Brett Johnson with you here on a Tuesday afternoon. And as usual on Tuesdays, we are joined by Patrick Kulikan, who is the editor-in-chief of the Minnesota Reformer. Great resource for the latest in Minnesota news and politics, and lots of in-depth reporting over at minnesotareformer.com. As today we are going to be taking a look at some under-the-radar things that were signed into law and passed by the state legislature that you may have missed, because there are lots of big-ticket items that, of course, were passed by the legislature, but there are a number of things that you may not have noticed that we're going to be talking about here with Patrick that will also have a big impact on the lives of Minnesotans. So thanks so much for coming back on the show. Good to have you on.
Always a pleasure, Brett.
Absolutely. So as you were going through and looking through in some of these bills and some of these provisions that were passed that people may not have been paying attention to or may have been floating under the radar, how did you kind of go about doing these? I'm sure I'm not picturing you just like reading bills every single night. Was there some sort of process where like you were tipped out, hey, maybe you should take a look at what's in here, or talking to other writers? I'm just kind of curious how that process works.
Yeah, I think throughout the session, we were alerted by sources, interest groups, and so forth about things that were moving through the legislature that for us, in any normal year, we might have covered. But this year was just different because they were doing so many big, momentous things. And so some of these smaller items that were nevertheless that were significant, we weren't able to cover them because we didn't have time. And then after the session, we were getting, as the sort of dust was settling, we were getting indications that there were really a lot of these provisions. And so I kind of did an open call to readers in my newsletter, which you can sign up for. It's free on our website. And I said, does anybody, if you see anything in legislation you think maybe deserves a notice and hasn't gotten covered at all, let me know. And I asked our reporters to do their own work on their own kind of beat areas. And so we just collected all this material, and it turned out there was a fair amount of stuff, really good stuff, I think. And that's my personal opinion. Most of it's really good stuff that just didn't get much coverage. So it was a fun process. And I hope that we were able to shed some light on it.
Well, let's start off with a big political issue, because as we may remember from prior to when the DFL had control of the state Senate, Governor Tim Walz had a tough time getting many of his commissioners confirmed. In fact, a number of them were actually removed from office a few years ago. But as I understand that the legislature actually changed that process, where not only are more commissioners now being confirmed, it could be a lot more difficult to do the kind of hostage taking that we saw Republicans do in the past, where basically they were saying something along the lines of, well, we're not going to confirm these commissioners until we get so-and-so. So what exactly ended up changing with what the legislature passed on how commissioners are now going to be confirmed in the future?
Yeah, so the process for confirming commissioners is in statute. The legislature makes those rules, and what they've essentially said now is either you take action in 60 legislative days, and that has a specific statutory meaning, or the Senate takes action in 60 legislative days. If they don't take action, the commissioner is automatically confirmed. And so it just ends this process by which a commissioner is appointed and yet sits there in limbo. I mean, it's not like Washington, where they don't actually start working until they get confirmed. Here, they actually are in the job, but they're not confirmed. And it's just a recipe for bad governance, because I think it must be a little harder to recruit candidates for this very important job if they know that they're just going to be sitting out there. And if the Republicans have the Senate, or if there's a Republican governor and it's a Democratic Senate, the person could be sacked at any moment. I don't think that's a recipe for recruiting top talent to serve as commissioners, which is a really important job. And then I also just don't think it's fair to the person who is trying to. The part of the job definition is they're working for the people of Minnesota, but they're also trying to further the governor's agenda. But they're also having to, if they're not confirmed, they're always kind of looking over their shoulder at the Senate and wondering if they're going to get fired if they take some action, which might be necessary. I think Republicans during Walz's first term, when they refused to confirm hardly any of his commissioners, they took a page from the Washington real partisan brawling playbook. It's bipartisan in Washington, but they kind of decided, well, we're going to play that way here. And I think the degree to which we can keep that out of Minnesota politics, the better. And they still have the power to not confirm someone. They just have to do it in 60 days, which I think is very reasonable. So this is a good government provision that got passed this session.
Yeah, and that's a good point to bring up that, if the Senate is controlled by the opposite party of the governor, they can still remove those commissioners. They just have to do it within 60 days. So all of a sudden you don't have someone sitting there trying to run an agency where, well, you could have that position for anywhere from 2 weeks to maybe even 2 or 3 years, just depending on the political whims of what's happening at the state legislature. So with you there that is probably a big good government reform. Wanted to talk about some other things that were in the piece that you wrote, again, titled over at minnesotareformer.com, the Easter eggs, the good stuff the legislature passed you may not have heard about. Want to get your thoughts, too, on a few you want to highlight. But one that caught my eye has to do with renters possibly having an easier time getting access to their money that they, used to get from that renter's credit, because that was sometimes a little bit complicated for people to get, or sometimes they might have forgotten to get it since that deadline is in August and not traditionally when you file your income taxes. But I understand that is going to be changing coming up in the future and making it a lot easier for renters to get access to some of those refunds that they are eligible for, correct?
Yeah, we're one of a handful of states with a renter's credit. The idea is that we give a property tax credit, and renters are a portion of their rent is presumably going toward property tax, and so they all ought to get something. It's also a nice redistribution tool, especially in today's economy where housing shortages and therefore housing costs are a real problem for people. So it's good that we had this renter's credit, but not enough people were really taking advantage of it because you had to have this form that you would get from the landlord, and then you would file it in August. I may have been eligible at some point during my time here, and I don't remember getting it, and it just didn't make any sense. I mean, if you want to have the credit, then we should design it so that people will actually take advantage of it, and we actually should want to put money in the pockets of renters. So they've just changed the process, so it's no longer a separate thing that you do. You get the form, and then you get a tax form. You get the special form and send it in August. Now it's just part of your tax return, and so you'll get, if you're doing the standard tax software, they'll ask you a question: are you a renter? How much are you paying rent? And then it'll determine right there when you're doing your taxes if you're eligible for the renter's credit. If you are, you'll get it, and it just simplifies it, and a lot more people are going to get it, and the legislature. There a lot more people are going to get it because they had to budget a lot more money for it, because now a lot more people are going to file it, and they're going to get it. And so when we heard a lot of coverage of the tax rebate and the income tax rebate is it too small, and Walz had promised something larger. This is a major factor that I don't think people have really thought about, is that this is more money that's going to go into people's pockets. It won't be next year, but the year after.
Absolutely. I was in that boat too when I rented. Yeah, where you can sometimes forget you even are eligible for those renters credits. So this will certainly make things a little bit easier. One more area I wanted to highlight that you wrote about has to do with some changes to those school levy campaigns and referendums. As I understand it, those could largely be a thing of the past because oftentimes people are never thrilled when they have to vote on those school referendums. So what exactly is happening with these, and well, could they largely become a thing of the past thanks to what happened at the legislature?
Right. So a school district will introduce a property tax levy to raise money for the district. They get it passed via referendum. It can be a time consuming and energy sapping process, but that's part of the deal. I think we understand that if you're going to raise people's taxes, they ought to have some say in it. What this does is it prevents you from having to run that same referendum campaign 10 years later. Instead of that, the school board can simply approve as long as it's the same amount of money, they can approve that property tax levy for another 10 years. And so you don't have to go through that whole referendum process again. As Senator Matt Klein, I think has some experience on school board, told me, anybody who's spent time on a school board, as well as the administration, the teachers, parents, they all kind of look at in dread at those referendum campaigns and they invariably they pass. So you're just spending, it's just a lot of angst and time, energy, money that you're spending on a campaign. And this way, it's a one-time only. The school board can continue that levy for another 10 years. As I said, if you don't like it, run for the school board.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking back to when we did some midterm coverage here at the station back in like 2018. One of our other hosts actually broke down like where these school referendums were passing and failing. And basically, the more rural you got, the greater chance to that, well, those school referendums were going to fail. Where basically in the metro, it was pretty much a given that they were going to pass. So that could provide a lot of relief to, well, some of the outstate districts, even more so than some of the areas in the metro for school funding. As we have a few more minutes, I'm curious what else kind of caught your eye in terms of some of these Easter eggs that people may have missed during the session, but might have a big impact. I know there's a lot of different directions we could go. Where are you kind of thinking? What were some other big provisions that were passed that you were thinking people might have missed?
Yeah, I have a special contempt for payday lenders who prey on poor people and get them into this kind of treadmill of debt. People have a hard time getting off, and they charge these really exorbitant rates of interest once you annualize them. To me, it's an extremely exploitative business model, and the legislature has capped the interest. And it's probably not going to put the industry out of business, but it will certainly stop the growth. And I think it's a really strong protection for consumers. And I think in most years it would have been a big deal, but this year kind of flew under the radar as part of the big commerce bill. So I was certainly happy to see that. I think that we've kind of going to force MnDOT to consider climate impacts when they decide to expand a highway. I'm not a huge fan at this point of highway expansions. And so I think forcing MnDOT to consider climate impacts is probably a good idea. I think that, people might think this is just frivolous, but the seal and the flag are a real missed opportunity to brand Minnesota to the rest of the country, and the current seal and flag is pretty racist and a visual mess beyond that. So I'm excited they did this. I really think that this would never have happened without the trifecta, because it would have become some dumb culture war. fight. So I'm glad they're doing this. It's also, they're doing it pretty quickly. It's not some drawn out thing. So those are a few of them, but I think I have a whole section in here about criminal justice changes that are, fairly small, but they add up to kind of changing the system to become less punitive. So I think one thing they did that was important from a process standpoint, they didn't really. It's been common in the past to use the clock as a negotiating tool. And I think that was something that both Speaker Melissa Hortman and Majority Leader Kerry Dietzich decided they're not going to do that. We're just going to get in there, start legislating. If you're opposed to something, let's cut a deal here and get this stuff done that needs to get done. And I think they ought to be applauded just from a process standpoint.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to miss those nights of getting those huge omnibus bills like 2 hours before the session is set to adjourn, and then saying, "Hey, now we got to vote on this." Yeah, I think that's probably an improvement to the process of actually getting these things passed on time, so people can see what's in the bills as well. Well, make sure you check out what's in the rest of what we were talking about. We didn't have time to get to quite all of the sections and Easter eggs that were kind of passed at the state legislature that flew a little bit under the radar, but you can find those over at minnesotareformer.com, minnesotareformer.com, as we have been speaking with Patrick Coulican of the Minnesota Reformer. Patrick, as always, thanks for coming on the show today.
It's always a pleasure.
All right, let's take a break and send things back over to Todd Mikkelson on AM 950.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
New at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Kuma wood stoves and fireplace inserts. American-made, sturdy and efficient wood heaters. All models qualify for 30% tax credit you can earn for installing efficient and renewable wood heat. Come see the new wood-burning Kuma stoves and fireplace inserts.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has been selling wood-burning products since 1977. Kuma wood burners are hard-working home heaters made from heavy, laser-cut steel. Kuma stoves and fireplace inserts have cast iron doors and large self-cleaning glass windows. You can see the firelight and feel the heat from their efficient fire. One of Woodland's many choices to make fire work for you and your home.
Work with the chimney and installation experts. They not only install, but will guide you if you want to install yourself. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood, gas, and electric units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services.
AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. Todd Mikkelson back here with you, sitting in on the Matt McNeil Show. And we're going to continue talking about good things because Democrats are in charge. This is a little presentation I'm going to play for you by Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo.
Day, we're announcing the biggest investment ever to close the digital divide in America. So how did we get here?
First, in the fall of 2021, President Biden signed the historic bipartisan infrastructure law, and with it came nearly $50 billion for the Commerce Department to connect every American. Next, the FCC issued up-to-date broadband availability maps, providing, for the first time ever, a granular picture of which households are in areas where high-speed internet is available and which households aren't.
So that brings us to today, where we're investing $42 billion to make sure every American has access to the internet. And in the process, we'll be creating tens of thousands of high-paying jobs. It's historic, it's incredible, and it's all because of President Biden's leadership and his Investing in America agenda.
And it's not because of Republicans who are now trying to take credit for it all over the country. They did a presentation about this, and they're starting now to implement this. And so they're starting to build, infrastructure that will bring broadband to everybody in America. And in the red districts, the Republican elected officials are announcing it as though they were a part of it, but they all voted against it. But we don't care. I mean, we do, but so we're getting things done, and even we're getting things done the Republicans know are good, and that's what makes them so angry, because they know that America's going to see, wow, things go better when we put Democrats in charge. So let's keep doing that. We've reached the end of hour number 1. We're going to be back with hour number 2 in just a few minutes here on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, Matt McNeil Show.
Hey, John, I heard you're turning 65 this year. Time to start comparing your Medicare insurance options.
Oh, I am so overwhelmed with all the different Medicare companies and plan designs. I don't even know where to begin.
Really? I worked with CompareYourMedicare.com, and they made my Medicare decisions seem easy.
Huh, really? Well, what do they do?
CompareYourMedicare.com represents several of the top Medicare insurance companies in Minnesota. A local licensed agent will help you compare Medicare plans to determine which products best meet your needs and budget.
Wow, that sounds a lot easier than going to a bunch of different Medicare seminars on my own.
Way easier. Just go to CompareYourMedicare.com and request a free, no-obligation review. You can even schedule a virtual consultation from the comfort of your own home.
Hi, this is Jared with CompareYourMedicare.com. We pride ourselves in serving our community's Medicare needs. Whether you're planning to retire early or work past age 65, we can guide you through how and when to apply for Medicare. Go to CompareYourMedicare.com to schedule a consultation.
Your radio station for The Resistance, The David Pakman Show, weekdays at 2 p.m. on AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. Court appearance was postponed today for a Donald Trump valet who's charged with helping the former president hide classified documents the Justice Department wanted back.
Walt Nauda's lawyer told a judge that his client had been unable to find a Florida-based attorney. He also said Nauda was stuck in Newark, New Jersey after his scheduled flight to Florida for the arraignment sat on the tarmac for hours and then was canceled. As a result, a federal judge pushed the arraignment back until July 6th. Nauda was charged earlier this month alongside Trump in a 38-count indictment filed by the Justice Department. Trump already pleaded not guilty to charges related to the alleged mishandling of classified documents kept at Mar-a-Lago. I'm Julie Walker.
A New York appeals court dismissed Ivanka Trump from a wide-ranging fraud lawsuit brought against her father and his company last year by the New York Attorney General. Former United Nations ambassador and Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley criticized former President Donald Trump for being too friendly to China during his time in office.
He did not put us on a stronger military foothold in Asia. He did not stop the flow of American technology and investment into the Chinese military. He did not effectively rally our allies against the Chinese threat.
Trump quickly responded.
I alerted people to the dangers of China. Before me, nobody knew China was doing numbers on us.
The Justice Department Inspector General says misconduct by federal jail guards led to Jeffrey Epstein's suicide in 2019 in New York. The Supreme Court ruled that state courts can act as a check on the legislatures in redistricting and other issues affecting federal elections. The court rejected arguments by Republicans in North Carolina that could have transformed contests for Congress and president. Wall Street stocks finish higher. This is AP News.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-452-5050. That's 1-800-452-5050. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-452-5050. That's 1-800-452-5050.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067. or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Hey, it's Patrick. While you and your family are ready for summer, make sure your home is ready for summer too. There are going to be a lot of people over at your house for those barbecues and graduation parties in June, so make sure to check in with my friends at Zero Res to make sure your floors are in tip-top shape. And now that summer is finally here, it's time to take advantage of Zero Res's best deal of the year. Carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery, basically every surface in your home can be Zero Resified, so it's time to call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res. It's also the perfect time of year to get your air ducts and your dryer vent cleaned too. You've waited and now you save. Book now and take advantage of the summer sale and get 20% off all services. Schedule your appointment by calling 952-ZERO-RES or going to ZeroResMinnesota.com and asking for the AM 950 special. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 86. Tonight, cloudy with a low around 67. And Wednesday, thunderstorms with a high around 82.
If you've been waiting to replace those appliances, don't miss Warner Stellian's lowest prices of the season. Score instant savings, then up to 10% off, and a bonus for each additional appliance you buy. Put us to the test at WarnerStellian.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. We're back for the second hour of the Matt McNeil Show on AM 950. And I'm Todd Mikkelson, sitting in for Matt, who's on vacation. And just kind of looking at the goings-on today. A couple days, or over the weekend, I think it was, Donald Trump said at a small gathering, like a fundraising thing or something, there were, I don't know, sounded like there was 25 people in the room. But he said, all the best law firms, the biggest law firms are getting in touch with me and they want to help me. And I'm telling them, I don't need your help. Don't need your help. This is, so he's trying to kind of wish this away. And his people put him in rooms with friendly people to him. So I think he's a little deluded right now on how much trouble he's in. But the reason, and he's, of course, he's lying about the best and biggest law firms contacting him, wanting to help him. It's exactly opposite. He's contacting them and they're saying, no. And it's because of, so you would think, especially now, the big news today with this recording that we started the show out with, that's pretty unbelievable to listen to, extremely damning to him and his case. And it is, I think, going to erode even some of his fan base, because it really shows how much he doesn't care about the United States national security and the people who work for the United States national security. So you would think his handlers would say, okay, now you're going to be asked about this recording. Just say, I'm not going to comment on any of that. It's going to go through a trial. I'm not here to comment on any of that. Just say that. But no, here's what he says. I'm going to play sound here, Patrick.
you're not concerned that with your own voice on those recordings.
My voice was fine. What did I say wrong on those recordings? I didn't even see the recording. All I know is I did nothing wrong. We had a lot of papers stacked up. In fact, you could hear the rustle of the paper, and nobody said I did anything wrong other than the fake news, which of course is Fox too.
Because he's on Fox when he's saying this. But yeah, that's not what he want to be saying. You know, his lawyers are just going, oh, geez. He goes, my voice was fine. But then he said, I didn't even see the recording. But then he said, you can hear the papers rustle. Did you hear the recording? I guess technically he said he didn't see the recording. So, so yeah, that's what's going down with the Don. Another thing then that just came out, Kevin McCarthy just landed himself in deep trouble with MAGA after he let it slip that he doesn't know if Trump is the strongest 2024 candidate and could cost him his speakership. While speaking to it's talking about costing him his speakership, the MAGAs might just vote him out. Laura Loomer just went off on him. She's a crazy person, but you know, it's the crazy people who are in charge of Kevin McCarthy these days. While speaking to reporters, McCarthy made a major blunder that has left MAGA livid. Can Trump win the election? Yeah, he can, McCarthy said. The question is he the strongest to win the election? I don't know that answer. So advisors and allies to Donald Trump were expressing outrage. F. Kevin McCarthy, wrote prominently right-wing influencer Laura Loomer. An April Blockbuster report indicated that a plot could be growing within the GOP conference to oust Kevin McCarthy as Speaker. An unnamed House Republican told Axios that they have doubts McCarthy will serve the full extent of his speakership term based on grumblings of House Republicans. It took McCarthy 15 ballots, of course, to get voted into the speakership, and he had to make a lot of deals that he says he didn't have to make any deals. Right. He didn't have to make any deals. How did that 15 ballot get changed so that you finally did get voted in? So that'll be interesting to watch. He said that he is interested in expunging Donald Trump's impeachments, which is not something that is a thing. But, you know, what are you going to do? And then more of the craziness. I played for you yesterday, I think it was, Trump talking about, if I become president, we're not going to allow the communists and socialists and Marxists to come into the country. And we should make a law about the ones that are already here. Well, now here, it's kind of hard to understand him because when he talks, it sounds like he's got marbles in his mouth. But Rick Scott from Florida, I'm going to play a recording of that, Patrick. Here's Rick Scott from Florida.
Senator Rick Scott here. Let me give you a travel warning. If you're a socialist, communist, somebody that believes in big government, I would think twice. Think twice if you're thinking about taking a vacation or moving to Florida. We're the free state of Florida. We actually don't believe in socialism. We actually know people, and some people in our state lived under it. We know people lived under socialism. It's not good. It's not good for anybody. So if you're thinking about it, if you think about coming to Florida and you're a socialist or communist, think twice. We like freedom, liberty, capitalism, things like that.
Yeah. I mean, he sounds like a kid, kind of, the way he talks. It's really weird. Sir, I'm Senator Rick Scott. But yeah, this is going to be a new thing. It sounds like that Republicans are going to be harping on. I guess through this, is this just the next thing? Maybe it'll only last for 2 weeks and then they'll roll through their other 10 things, you know, M&Ms and rainbows at Target and stuff. And then they'll come back to this again. But this is a very dangerous kind of talk. It's the talk of fascism is what it is. And it sounds like the Republicans are going to make it their their new brand, their newest brand. And, it's disgusting is what it is. So other things going on. Now, I want to get to an article here. I have a whole bunch of stuff up here. SCOTUS. So we've been hearing a lot of bad things about SCOTUS. Now, what's been happening, though, lately are actually really good things going on with SCOTUS. And I think part of it is in reaction to one of the really bad things. The Dobbs decision from almost exactly a year ago. It was a year ago this week that got rid of Roe v. Wade in the Constitution. And a lot of states have now made it illegal to seek an abortion no matter what. And women are dying and coming close to dying. And children are being forced to have babies. And it's a mess. And the Supreme Court, I saw one story where Roberts was trying to tell people like Kavanaugh and Comey, what's her name, a couple of the new people who came in and completely lied to Congress when they said they were not going to overturn Roe v. Wade, but then they voted to overturn Roe v. Wade. And Roberts tried to warn them about, this is going to be a big problem for us. And so he's giving them permission, supposedly, to vote on these other issues, not on the side of the conservatives. So right now, they're in session right now. So last week they did a bunch of rulings, and they've been doing rulings into this week as well. And it's been very interesting. And I'm sure all of the, Federalists and conservatives who worked hard to get these horrible people onto the Supreme Court so that they would overturn Roe v. Wade and get rid of voting rights in the country and things like that. Those people are probably pretty angry right now. Just today, the Supreme Court rejected a legal theory that would have radically reshaped how federal elections are conducted by giving state legislatures largely unchecked power to set rules for federal elections and to draw congressional maps warped by partisan gerrymandering. So this was part of the plan that even was floated by people like some of the Trump nasty people, Roger Stone and these people were talking about turning and it's what Trump was trying to get Raffensperger to do in Georgia. Let it go back to, and it's what he was trying to do on January 6th. Let it go back to the state legislatures. And the state legislatures, basically what they wanted was for the state legislature to have the power in different states to just overturn the election if they don't like it. This particular one was in North Carolina, where the North Carolina state legislature put up a measure saying, hey, if Biden wins in 2024, we're just going to say, no, he didn't win in this state. And we're going to deliver our electoral votes to whoever we want to. And that is what the Supreme Court rejected today in a vote that was 6-3, not 5-4, but 6-3. And Chief Justice John Roberts wrote the majority opinion. The Constitution, he said, does not accept state legislatures from the ordinary constraints imposed by state law. Now, you can guess who the people who voted against it, to uphold it, actually, is Clarence Thomas and Alito. Of course, you're going to guess those two. The other one was Gorsuch. They dissented. The case concerned the independent state legislature theory. It is based on a reading of the Constitution's elections clause, which says The times, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof. But that's all it says. And that's kind of what Roberts is pointing out. He said, that's all the power that the state legislatures get. And they have also made rulings making some maps change, some gerrymandered maps changed. And have some details. Well, let's talk about this a little longer, though. Proponents of the strongest form of the theory say this means that no other organs of state government, not courts, not governors, not election administrators, not independent commissions, can alter a legislature's actions on federal elections. Chief Justice Roberts rejected that position. The Elections Clause does not insulate state legislatures from the ordinary exercise of state judicial review. The ruling soundly dismissed the theory on that an unusually diverse array of lawyers, judges, and scholars across the ideological spectrum viewed as extreme and dangerous. Yes, this was extremely dangerous. If they had ruled in the other direction, we would not have free and fair elections in this country anymore. It happened today. The Republicans are fighting to become a dictatorial, whatever. I'm kind of reading through here. Yeah, there's the details get deep in the weeds here now, but this was a huge moment in our country right now. If it would have gone the other way, it would have been absolutely devastatingly disastrous. Other states would have went for it, and then you have basically the state legislatures picking the president of the United States. Donald Trump getting in there, and when the Republicans are saying, oh, the left wants 2024 to be the last ever election America has, they're projecting. They're the ones who wish for that. They want Donald Trump to get in there for life, no matter how long or short it is, and then they want to appoint whoever comes after. They don't want a democratic republic. They don't want democratic elections in this country. And this was a moment where it's kind of their last straw, their last thing they tried. And if this would have went the other way, they would have got what they wished for. We would have lost our democratic elections in this country. Just like countries like Belarus and, their last election was 1994, and they've had a dictator ever since. We didn't come that close because, even the Republicans on the Supreme Court knew that this was not something that should happen. And I think that the Dobbs decision is contributing to their current decisions they're making. We'll talk about a couple of the other decisions that they've made that are really, really good, actually. I think a lot of people are surprised. I included. But let's take a break and come back. You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Todd Mikkelson sitting in on the Matt McNeil Show. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Tom. Since 2009, All Energy Solar has been providing solar energy solutions to customers. With fully licensed electricians and installers, you can be sure that your solar installation will go smoothly. The team at All Energy Solar understands that every customer is unique. They'll take the time to survey and understand your property to find a solar solution that works for you. One of the biggest advantages of going solar is the opportunity to take advantage of the many solar incentives available. But it can often be confusing to know what you're qualified for. All Energy Solar professionals will help you find out what savings you can apply for and even help with your applications. This is especially important since many rebate programs have limited capacity and are first come, first serve. So it's important to have a professional on your side who will make sure you get every eligible rebate. Get a free no obligation assessment from All Energy Solar's commercial solar specialists by calling 800-620-3370 or visit allenergysolar.com.
Get ready for the best and biggest fireworks selection at Fireworks City in Baldwin, Wisconsin. And now they have exciting news. Free stuff is back with a $200 or more purchase. But that's not all. They're bringing back their incredible get 3 for 1 low price deal on all multi-shot cakes. Stock up on these incredible multi-shot cakes and get 3 for the price of 1. At Fireworks City, we're your one-stop shop for all your firework needs. Located just 25 minutes from St. Paul, it's worth a short drive on I-94 to exit 19. And here's the best part. Buy one, get one for 99 cents on every firework. Don't just take their word for it. See all the fireworks in action on one of their many TVs. Experience the excitement firsthand and make an informed choice. Bring your family and friends and head over to Fireworks City in Baldwin, Wisconsin. Exit 19 off Interstate 94. Fireworks City guarantees a fun and family-friendly atmosphere. The best deal on fireworks is waiting for you. Buy one, get one for 99 cents.
Hi, I'm Scott Shambot from Shambot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. We know dental anxiety and dental phobia are real. We'll take the time to get to know you and give you what you need to be comfortable at all times. We offer free nitrous oxide laughing gas and have high-tech options to help you feel calm and relaxed during your appointments. We'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been going to Shambot Family Dentistry for years. They get me in last minute when I'm in pain and make regular checkups easy and comfortable.
Shambot Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblotfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Todd Mikkelson in on the Matt McNeil Show. And Steve Simon, our own Secretary of State who runs elections in Minnesota, his comment about the story that I just read about the elections, he says, crisis avoided. This decision prevents the kind of blatant partisan manipulation that could have caused chaos in future elections. I would say at the very least. I think it might just cancel future elections. Another SCOTUS decision. A lawsuit currently pending before the U.S. Supreme Court regarding Alabama's congressional map drawn with 2020 census data. 2 lawsuits were originally filed on behalf of voters and nonprofit organizations who allege Alabama's current congressional map dilutes the voting strength of Black Alabamians in violation of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act after a district court blocked the map and ordered the creation of a new map with 2 majority Black districts. The Supreme Court stepped in and paused this order, ensuring that the state's previously blocked map, which only contains 1 majority Black district, remained in place for the 2022 midterm elections. On January 16th, 2023, Wes Allen was sworn in as a Secretary of State, and as a result, the case caption changed. So anyway, moving forward to now, basically what happened was back for 12 or so years ago, there used to be a rule from the Voting Rights Act from 1965 that if you changed your maps, you had to get approval from a court. It was called pre-clearance. It was Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act. And it would have to go to a 3-judge district court to be approved. And but what happened about 12 years ago, the Supreme Court under John Roberts was newer then, they said, and I remember they basically said, we don't have racism in the United States anymore. So we don't need that part of the Voting Rights Act. So they got rid of the pre-clearance, Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act. So racist states started drawing gerrymandered maps, and this was back in the 2010 consensus or census, and in the Tea Party days. So some southern racist states just absolutely gerrymandered and took voting rights away left and right from people of color. And they didn't have to get pre-clearance. They just did it. The legislatures would just do it that way. And a rule changed recently then where you would have to bring, groups would have to object to the maps. And that's what happened. That's what happened in Alabama. A couple of groups said, on behalf of the voters and nonprofit organizations who alleged Alabama's current congressional map dilutes the voting strength of Black Alabamians. And it was shown that, you have to redraw your map. When somebody brings it to the court, it used to be it automatically had to go through the district court. Now somebody has to object and request that it goes through the district court. And the district court in Alabama said, yes, these maps are gerrymandered. They're unfair. You need to redraw the maps to have 2 majority Black districts instead of just 1. But the Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that this close to an election. So the maps have to stay in place. The gerrymandered, unfair maps have to stay in place for 2022. But now, in 2023, they got overturned. And they're not messing around. They have to, the district court judge ruled that these new maps are due on July 21st. And if the legislature doesn't deliver maps that are fair and that have 2 Black districts, minority-majority districts, then I'm going to draw the maps, or somebody else is going to draw the maps. We're going to have new maps, and they're going to have those new maps before the 2024 election. And that has also happened now in Louisiana as well. This Alabama news came out last Thursday or Friday. And then I believe it was just yesterday, the same ruling, the whole scenario that I just explained, happened in Louisiana. And the United States Supreme Court is upholding this. Very interesting stuff. So that means the Democrats are going to gain a seat in the House of Representatives in Alabama. They're going to gain a seat in Louisiana. This is probably also going to come up in, I think it's South Carolina and Texas. And I think Texas is going to put up even more seats than just 1 more. So they're talking about these rulings are going to, I guess it's North Carolina, not South Carolina, are going to net the Democrats between 5 and 8 new seats in the House, or flipped seats, let's say. And so if we gain 5 seats, the Republicans lose 5 seats. And, that means we have the majority. So this helps a lot. And it's not gerrymandering in favor of Democrats. It's just getting fair maps is what it's doing. The only reason Republicans have the majority in the House right now is because of gerrymandered maps. And these rulings are getting rid of gerrymandered maps. And it's happening more and more. It could keep going into more states as the months grind on. It's just that right now the Supreme Court these cases are coming to the Supreme Court and they're saying, nope, you got to redraw that map. That coupled up with the fact that The Democrats did a really poor job, at least on Long Island in New York. That's how George Santos got elected. I don't think the Democrats are going to make the same mistakes in New York in 2024 that they made in 2022. There's 3 seats on Long Island that everyone was really surprised went to Republicans. The Democrats work hard on getting those seats back. There's 11 possible seats, you know? So if Democrats just keep working really, really hard, we will probably strengthen our majority in the Senate, and like we did in 2022 when everybody thought we were going to lose the Senate, and we will regain the House, and we will hold the White House, and we can do what the Minnesota legislature did. We can get a lot of stuff done. We can do what Joe Biden did when we had the Senate and the House for the first 2 years of his tenure, including spreading broadband to everybody in the country. The Republicans voted against that. They vote against all that stuff. So we got to get rid of them, basically. There's another Supreme Court ruling I want to talk about when we come back from another break. Let's take a short break right now on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Peter Solak.
And I'm Adam Ostrowski.
We are here at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces to talk about the joy of live fire cooking. Cooking over a live fire is the oldest and most basic form of cooking.
What's new is in the way fire is handled and its heat is managed.
It's easier to experience and enjoy the smell and taste of food cooked over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces sells and installs live fire grills, fire pits, and ovens. Let us help you experience the smell, the taste, the fun of cooking with fire.
Pizza was first made and is still best made in an open fire oven. The radiant and conductive heat of a live fire is unmatched for wood roasting and baking artisan breads too.
Come see the many ways you can cook over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood and gas units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. More information at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that works for you. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Out of the ordinary products and services since 1977. Seward Co-op is now offering convenient self-serve and prepackaged hot options and salad bars at both the Franklin and Friendship stores. Breakfast items available daily until 11 a.m. and brunch served all day every Sunday. Their weekly lunch and dinner menus highlight cuisines from around the world. They offer vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free options daily. 95% of the ingredients used are organic from small-scale, local community food producers whenever possible. More at seward.coop.
Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. Snap Construction is arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, and insulation contractor in the metro. Ryan is so excited about working with AM 950 and our listeners that he wants to help us grow.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. I was friends with Chad long before I started marketing with him. I was a bit skeptical of radio advertising before Chad convinced us to run ads. The advertising's been so successful, we want to help the station grow. We've absolutely loved working with the listeners of AM 950, and we all know how extremely important this radio station is to the community. To help AM 950 grow, Snap Construction will be putting up proceeds to assist the station in marketing on social media. Snap Construction encourages you to follow, engage, share, and interact on the AM 950 social media platforms. Together, we can all work to ensure AM 950 continues to thrive and grow in our communities. We stand by our work with a lifetime craftsmanship guarantee. For a free estimate or more information on our financing, call 612-333-SNAP or check us out online.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. A chance of showers and thunderstorms late tonight with an overnight low of 68. A better chance of showers and storms on Wednesday with a high of 82. Celebrate the arrival of summer with a great meal at an Eat Local Minnesota restaurant, perfect for any occasion. Check out the list of Eat Local Minnesota restaurants at eatlocalminnesota.com.
Scared me. Loud. AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. Todd Mikkelson in for the Matt McNeil Show. Matt is on vacation. I will be here today, tomorrow, and Thursday. And then Friday, I believe they're playing some best of stuff. heading into the 4th of July weekend. And then Matt will be back on the 5th of July, which is Wednesday, the 5th. So he's going to be gone for more than another whole week. But anyway, Supreme Court ruling. And I think this surprised people, but it really makes sense. This one has to do with the southern border, or all borders, but, our biggest issues are at the southern border between the United States and Mexico. And it's because of a lot of horrible stuff going on in the Americas, down in South America, and some stuff in Mexico where people are fleeing civil war, and they're fleeing being harassed by gangs and all kinds of stuff. And they're wanting to find solace here in the United States because that's what the United States has always done. And some people end up coming in and we don't even know they're here. And some, they didn't go through all the legal measures. A lot of those people don't even realize that they are currently illegally in the United States. There have been people thrown out of the United States who were like, I didn't know. I would have done it right. I didn't know I did anything wrong. There are about 11 million people in the United States who are here illegally. And I would say the majority of them don't even realize they're here illegally. And Trump wanted to throw every single one of them out. Of course, you can't. We don't have any kind of facilities or resources to be able to do that, to figure out who the 11 million people are and then throw them all out, every single one of them. That was the Trump plan. Biden immediately, like in 2021, wanted to say, no, let's focus on the dangerous people. Let's focus on the illegal people that we know of who are criminals or dangerous or are terrorists. Let's go after them first and leave the innocent people alone, for at least put them on the back burner. And that way we will get rid of the people we don't want in the United States. The people who are innocent about this, we might want to keep them in the United States. We probably do. That's what the Biden administration says. And it was being held up. His new policies were being held up. And they kept getting challenged. And finally, it came all the way up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled in favor of President Biden's rules. In favor of President Biden's rules. So now those will start to take effect. And we'll see what happens. Now, Republicans don't want you to pay attention to this because it sounds like it makes sense. Instead of trying to throw all 11 million people out at once, let's go after the dangerous ones and the terrorists and get them out. Let's not be distracted by going after the whole 11 million. Let's focus on the people that we don't want to stay here. The terrorists and the criminals. Let's focus on them and get rid of them right away. In 4 years, you haven't gotten rid of them because you're going after all 11 million people. Republicans know that makes a lot of sense. So they don't want you to know about this SCOTUS ruling. And they don't want you to know that is Biden's rulings, the new policy that he wants to take effect at the southern border. I didn't know that until this SCOTUS ruling. That's how I learned about Biden's new policies at the border. Well, now we're all learning about it, hopefully. Tell people about it. Everyone should learn about this stuff. Also, the Republicans were trying, they took a gamble and they lost over Title 42. Title 42 wasn't a border policy. It was a COVID policy. But it put further restrictions. One of the things that it did was it put further restrictions on people coming into the border. And it turned more people away because of the pandemic. It's like we can't, this is temporary. We can't let you into our country right now because there's a pandemic and we, need to have more control over where people are going. Everything's in lockdown, blah, blah, blah. Well, Title 42 is a pretty nasty rule for the border. But the Trump administration was saying, well, we need to do it because of COVID. But they were happy about it because it puts more restrictions on people coming into the United States. And at the southern border, most of those people are people of color. And Republicans hate people of color. I know they're going to say, no, we don't. Yeah, you do. We've been watching you. So they said when Title 42 gets lifted, which was about a month ago now, they said the dam is going to break. It's going to be so chaotic at the southern border. People are just going to come in like water going through a broken dam. It's going to be overwhelming. And it's all Biden's fault because Biden's making Chapter 42 go away. And Biden's saying, well, we're not in a pandemic anymore. Let's make Title 42 go away. And let's make these people come across in the way that we want them to come across. And he took it a step further, and this is another thing the Republicans don't want you to know about. He took it a step further than the Trump administration ever did. The Trump administration was pretty, they didn't know what they were doing. Stephen Miller thought we could just shoot them before they get here. Hey, if there's a boat full of migrants, can't we use one of those cool drones you showed me? No, we can't. That would break international law. That would make the United States a war-criming country. You idiot. But that shows you how much they hate people of color. They don't think of them as people. So what Biden did that took it even further was, okay, listen, you come into our country through the right places and do the right paperwork, go through the right measures that you need to go through in order to enter the United States. And if you don't, we're going to throw you out and you're not going to have a chance to do it right for 5 years. You're going to be basically exiled for 5 years. And the news got out. They knew how to spread the news. You heard about Kamala Harris talking about changing things in the countries that people are coming from. That's what we started doing. So people in the countries that want to leave their country and come to the United States were getting this news, and they were hearing about this rule. So when Chapter 42 was lifted, immigration went down. People coming across the border went down 70%. Not up like Republicans told you they were going to. They went down. This is the gamble that Republicans took. They thought, hey, let's get everyone scared. But then when Chapter 42 went away, it went the way that the Republicans say they want things to go. Illegal immigration went down 70%. People crossing the border went down 70%. I thought that's what Republicans wanted. Trump didn't make that happen. Biden did. And that's why Republicans are not talking about the border anymore. You don't hear them talking about the border. Yeah, they're going to impeach Biden because of the border. How's that investigation going to go when the investigation reveals everything I just told you happened? Are they still going to put him up for impeachment? Yeah, their arguments are not working. And the Supreme Court seems to actually be ruling in some good fashion right now, making actually good things happen instead of horrible things happen. So we're tectonic changes going on in United States politics. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back. We've got one more segment left in today's Matt McNeil show. Todd Mikkelson in for Matt McNeil. You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. We'll be right back.
You hear a lot about Rudy Luther Toyota's hybrid cars, but maybe you're asking yourself, are they worth it? Let me say from experience, absolutely. I have a Toyota Sienna hybrid, and the proof is in the gas tank. Before my hybrid, I was filling up my tank once a week. Now it's consistently every 2 weeks. I did the math, and my hybrid is saving me over $1,000 every year. And the Toyota hybrids are some of the most stylish and comfortable vehicles you'll ever drive. Now's the time to get a Toyota hybrid. Set up a time to test drive one today at Rudy Luther Toyota, the southeast corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
Hi, this is Laura. Listen to Food Freedom Radio every Saturday at 8 a.m. or anytime via podcast. Our individual health is connected to the health of each other and connected to the health of the earth. We know the problems with the dominant food system: climate change, deadening soils, nitrates in the water, factory farming, injustice, concentration of wealth. How do we both as individuals and as a community step up and support a living food system which honors the earth? Tune to Food Freedom Radio every Saturday at 8 a.m. and remember to support your independent farmers.
The Park Tavern in St. Louis Park is your summer destination. The patio is amazing, perfect for you and your friends to grab dinner and drinks. Enjoy a game of cornhole while you indulge in the great food. The full Park Tavern menu is available outside. The Park Tavern also has live music on the patio every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and even some Mondays through the summer. Reservations are highly recommended. And if the weather does turn, the bowling lanes at the Park Tavern are always open and are spectacular. On Louisiana Avenue, north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park, the perfect summer is waiting for you at the Park Tavern.
Now is the perfect time to prepare for summer reading, and Next Chapter Booksellers can help. Not sure what to get? The friendly staff at Next Chapter Booksellers are great at making recommendations to find books that fit your taste. Next Chapter Booksellers also hosts many book readings and meet and greets with authors, and they sell a wide variety of puzzles and games too. So stop by the store off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul or place an order online at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
Is your remote workforce putting your company at risk? Cyber criminals are targeting your employees with COVID-19 inspired emails and attacking businesses like yours. Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. Rymark has the tools and expertise to enable your employees to work securely from home. If you need help getting your staff to work remotely and securely, call 651-328-8900 or go to rymarkit.com. That's 651-328-8900 or rymarkit.com.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. I'm Todd Mikkelson in for Matt McNeil. We were talking about the border. Republicans have been fighting measures at the border. Democrats have been saying, we got to work on this. Our policies are not working. We got to change our policies at the border to make it work better. And Republicans keep fighting against that because they don't want that problem to go away. They want to. The problem is more valuable than the solution to them, not just on the border, but on many things. That's something we all need to always remember. And that's why we can't let Republicans be in charge. They want the chaos to stay. But things are changing. Yesterday, we talked about what's going on with Jim Jordan. All of a sudden, these cases where the now grown men, but they were abused when they were young boys in school when Jim Jordan was their assistant coach. Well, he is a witness in a few lawsuits that were blocked until the Supreme Court said, no, that we can open those up again. Even though too much time has passed, we can reopen those up. Those people can sue the school. And Jim Jordan's going to get caught up in that stuff. Now, I'm going to read a tweet that Call to Activism put up. The media is not making a big enough deal about this. Special counsel Jack Smith has called for tapes that implicate Ted Cruz in attempts to overturn Biden's certification, and he's sweating bullets. This is a big deal. In the ongoing investigation by the Justice Department surrounding Trump's false claims of voter fraud, Smith went to rely on recordings made by former Fox News producer Abby Grossberg to paint a clearer picture of the events that unfolded leading up to and following Trump's big lie. Here's the thing. Now that the DOJ has completed processing Trump in the classified documents case, their focus will turn to election interference. Cruz has to be nervous because he's going to overdrive smearing the DOJ. He's going into overdrive smearing the DOJ. So he's showing signs of being nervous. While news broke in April about Cruz's conversation with Fox host Maria Bartiromo, suggesting a commission be created to look into voter fraud, it's very possible we could hear about Ted Cruz's indictment. Possibly soon. Cruz added at the time that he'd assembled 11 senators willing to join in on objecting to electoral certification, which would prompt a 10-day audit. And we know Jack Smith doesn't mess around. Yeah, remember that back a few months ago? All these recordings were coming out back when Fox. Man, there are just so many things going on where the bad guys are losing. Fox settled to pay hundreds of millions, $750 million because of the big lie. And then this other woman, what's her name? Abby. Abby Grossberg. She's suing Fox, too. She was a producer, and she was treated awful nasty. And she had a bunch of tapes that were made when she was a producer. Some of them were phone calls and all kinds of different stuff. And turning up on her tapes was Ted Cruz on a phone call. And if you remember, on January 6th, Ted Cruz was the Senate. So if you're a House member and you want to object to a certain state's vote, the first one was Arizona. Or was it Alabama? Anyway, I think Arizona was the first one that they objected to. But if you're a House member, you need to have a sponsor from the Senate. And Ted Cruz was the sponsor of, what's his name, the House member from Arizona. So Ted Cruz, and now he's on this recording saying that he has assembled 11 senators willing to join in on objecting. He did object on January 6th. And now that tape is being listened to by Jack Smith and the grand juries. Big effing deal, man. Other things going on. A guy by the name of Jonathan Owen Schroyer got pulled in to do a deposition. And he is a producer for InfoWars, and he has his own silly show on InfoWars, which is what's his name? What's his name on InfoWars, Patrick? Alex Jones. Patrick's not listening to me. He's bored. Patrick's fallen asleep. Alex Jones, InfoWars. This guy has a show, and he was in the Willard Hotel, quote unquote, war room. That's where meetings were going on between, like, Roger Stone was there, leaders of the Proud Boys, leaders of, I think, the guy who shot his eye out, the Oath Keepers guy. Pretty much everyone else in the room has been indicted and convicted, actually. Mike Flynn was there. On the 5th of July, 2021, that's the room they were planning January 6th. And this guy, John Owen Schroyer, has now been called in to testify. And he's going to testify about what went on in the Willard Hotel. This is a huge breakthrough in the case. So pretty soon, the January 6th case is going to come up, and Trump's going to be indicted again and arraigned again. And it's going to be huge. It's just going to be mind-blowingly huge. It's going to be wild. Tectonic changes going on. And I don't think the Republican Party is looking like they're going to be able to survive it. I think they're going to be decimated in 2024. Well, we've reached the end of our show here again. Time goes fast when you're having fun, right? I'm going to be back tomorrow, though, sitting in on the Matt McNeil Show, who's on vacation. I'm Todd Mikkelson. You've been listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. We will talk to you tomorrow.